What is going on? Happy Monday. I hope everyone's good. What a beautiful day to be alive. Fair few to get through this morning. For those that got the newsletter last night, you'll have noticed that it was a little bit bare bones. Honestly, I was just exhausted. So we're going to cover some things this morning, and I want to just run through a few potential scenarios that we see playing out over the week ahead. So, first of all, Swiss yen. For those that did get the newsletter, you will have noticed yesterday that we were talking, I spoke about the need, the possibility to get back above 118.60. Above 118.70 would probably draw us into potential long positions. So let's first and foremost look at that scenario. Just pull this through. Above 118.60, in actual fact, let's just reset this. I'm going to come out to the daily time frame just because we need to have some more information. But let's just bang a quick level through here, just so that we can see the significance of this area. The support, the resistance, support, resistance, that we keep seeing around this 1860 level is massive. Like, it holds so much weight. It's similar to the CAD situation that we saw with Euro CAD, Pound CAD, and Dollar CAD a couple of last month or a couple of months ago now, where we're starting to see this area that once we're taken out, like, that's it. It's gonna go. It's gonna absolutely fly. And 124 is more than achievable. It might take a week or two to get there, but it's more than achievable. So that level is huge. If we can break back above that, we are going to definitely, without a doubt, need to see that push back and retest. So a little push up, pull back, and then obviously get that retest of that 60 level, confirmation of that breakout, and then that to push price on. That would be one scenario, and that's the only scenario we can look to when it's taking longs at the moment. We get into the shorts in a second. The real thing at the moment, obviously, as well, if we come out to the 4-hour time frame, is the fact that we're still failing to break this previous low. So obviously we saw quite a sell-off last week that we were able to take advantage of. I know we got in from 1840, or it was a planned position that was sent out. Some might have got in a little bit earlier, around 60, I think, and even 50. So lovely positions. Those positions from 40 at the moment, obviously we're running about 50 pips to the good. That's always a nice thing. And obviously we established some support down at 117.70 last week. That saw us drive all the way back to the upside, and then obviously we've rejected it again. But we failed to break the lows. Now obviously after such a big momentous move, we're definitely going to need to see these lows taken out before we want to enter any potential shorts. For all the time that we're still trading above this, we have quite an inherent sense that we might see long positions, which is why this 118 region is quite key to everything that we're looking for and everything that we do next. The break back below 1770 will obviously give us that short position. That will end up seeing us arrive back down towards 117 pretty quickly, I would have thought. And then obviously the potential to fall back down to that 116 target that we have in play. Now, if we break back above 118 at this point in time, when we wrote the newsletter yesterday and sent that out, obviously looking at the potential there, we were saying that we needed to get back below this 118 region in order to want to have any confidence in holding potential shorts. Otherwise, the likely scenario was that we were going to break back towards 118.60. Now, obviously, we've broken through this morning overnight, and we are trading below currently. But obviously, it is very, very early on a Monday morning. So, once the London session kicks in, kind of around about 10 a.m., what we're likely to see is a little bit more of an indication of where we go. Now, if I had to hazard a guess between now and then, I would imagine that we pretty much sit in a little bit of range bound activity, somewhere between 1780 and 18. We just go sideways for a little bit, which is actually a good thing. It's a little bit boring for us as traders watching that sideways movement, but what that does is sets up potential opportunities for us. Therefore, if we do get some sideways action and we break back above 118 or 118.10, I would definitely be looking to take long positions back up to 1860 and looking for that break above. It's only 50 pips, but the chances are we're probably only going to need to have around about a 20 pip stop loss. So 2.5 to 1 isn't immensely bad. It's something that I'm probably quite content to have. So shorts below 117.70 should end up at 116 at some point. Probably not this week, but at some point in the next couple, or at least 117 by the end of this week. If we consolidate and break back above 18.10, longs back to 18.60 are possible, anticipating that potential breakout. If you're not that risk happy, then we wait for 118 to be 118.60 to be taken out, that pullback retest before seeing price going again. Those are the potential scenarios that play out with Swiss yen this week. I do still fancy the downside. We're in such a range bound area. Come out to the 4 hours. Even back all the way down, like I say, at 116, that range low. But we're in a range bound period, and there's every chance that we fall back to the downside at the end of the day. We failed to break the highs, lower high on the 4 hour time frame. If we can break down below the lows at 1770, and like I say, the only place that there is to go is 117, pull back, see a push back to that 50 or 70 region, then a push back down to 116. So a lot of potential for it's a slow mover. It's not the quickest moving pair in the world, but it is consistent with what it does. And it is a pair that presents a pretty good risk to reward ratio. Euro USD. I've never been so gutted but so happy. I was gutted because I woke up this morning and I was in a position from 1970. So I woke up this morning in a little bit in profit, but obviously not immensely in profit, just because if I was up, I would have been about 30 pips up around 2 o'clock this morning, but I was definitely asleep then. And obviously we've seen a push back up. I did take profit as soon as I woke up at 6:30 this morning though, so it's not all doom and gloom. Still come out of it 2% up for the day. Now, where we go next depends largely around this 120 level. At the moment, we're sat in this little consolidation region, and we're seeing that obviously we're testing that at the moment. If we fall off from here, then we've got one of two scenarios, because we've now closed the gap that had formed on Sunday night on market open, which is obviously something that we would like to see happen anyway. If we now establish resistance, which, let's be honest, in the recent history looks quite likely, if we establish that resistance and see a pushback to downside, we would have failed to break the highs. We've already made a lower low this morning, so it would make a lot of sense to take potential short positions from here, looking for that break of 50. So if we could get in somewhere around 1980, looking for that break below 50, then I think that would be a pretty good position. Look to retest the lows. Back down at the lows here. Probably only going to need around about a 25, maybe even 20 pip stop loss. That would put us back above 120, so that would be pretty good. And then obviously if we can break 119.50, then it's pretty clear that we end up back at 118.80, and that's obviously the sticking point where we've been looking for that break back below for quite a long time. So we should see, it depends whether or not we're going to see the euro weaken off and that weakness to continue, which we'll go through in a couple of other pairs in a second, or we see the US dollar strengthen up. Both would be nice. Both would be good to see with this because the short has massive potentials. If we can get through 119.50, then we've got 18.80. We can get through 18.80, then we ultimately going to end up back at 117 and then maybe 116.20. Back down at these previous lows that we are still yet to achieve. However, obviously, like you say, we can see the clear upwards trend that we have seen. So it all hinges on getting back below 19.50. Looking at potential long positions, because they do exist, we need 120.20 to go. There is nothing we can do until that level is taken out. The only reason this area is in here is that liquidity zone, looking for that potential push away from 120. Now 120.20 has to go for us to want to take a potential long position, but when it does, we have 121.20 or 121 thereabouts as our first target, and then obviously a break back towards kind of 122 and that 122.20 region, 122.50 that we had seen a couple of weeks ago for potential longs. So we're in a situation now where this area is pretty key, and 120.20 is vital to any potential longs. If we break back above that, I think it becomes pretty clear that we're going to break towards the upside. So rejections from here and a break back below the 80 level could possibly lead to potential short positions, but it's important not to get drawn into that too early this morning. If we break back above the highs at 2020 or 2020, then that's time to start focusing solidly on potential long positions. Where to? Let's do dollar CAD. I mean, it's pretty clear to see this morning that the CAD is definitely the more dominant pair out of these two. So looking at potential short positions and where we go from here. It's difficult because if you come into the 30 minutes, let's just come back down. And again, we're just going to pop a level through. I'll delete this in a minute. But you can see that we've had previous resistance, previous support. So we're floating around an area at the moment that could potentially give us an entry down to the 50 level, which would obviously be quite nicely received. So there is definitely potential there for 124 or like below 124.90 once we get back out of this potential. Let's just get rid of that. The potential support and resistance region that we've got, but this is on the lower time frame, so we have to understand that the chances are that from this level at the moment, we're only probably going to come down and find this 124.50 zone, which is obviously our preferred and main entry. For those that have read the newsletter, or for those that have obviously followed this pair with us over the last couple of months, we know that this 124.50 region is massive for the pair. That was our previous downside target from our shorts from 129. So getting below that is obviously key for us at the moment. The fact that we're seeing all these lovely little swings come into play is nice, but I think realistically the smart money is on taking shorts below 24.50. Yes, they're there before, but it's up to us whether or not we want to take them. Personally, I'm not going to look to take a potential short position until we get below 24.50. Until that happens, I just don't see that it's worth the risk. We get involved now, we're still going to need to have a 30 pip stop loss for a potential 50 pip gain, and that for me is just a bit too much. There's every chance that we drop from here straight down to 50. If that happens, happy days. What will more than likely happen, let's just ruin my chart again, is that we see a push all the way back down to the 50 level. That comes into play. We're probably not going to get a break for a retest of this. So we see a rejection from 50 back up, and then we potentially will have the opportunity to take that short again from the potential breakout of this zone. But only when it comes back and retests would I want to take a position from here. Yes, there's potential to take it. Yes, there is every chance that from now through until about 11 o'clock, we end up finding 124.50. If we do, lovely, brilliant. If we don't, so what? Like, I'm not going to be involved in this position until 124.50 is taken out, but there is obviously scope for that to happen. Long positions above 126. I just want to explore very quickly as well. I know it seems like we're quite far away at the moment, 100 pips away. You could potentially take an earlier position now that we've started to see this situation. I've just noticed this head and shoulders on the 30-minute as well, which obviously gives further weight to this potential short into 24.50. So definitely well worth keeping an eye on. Sorry, 2 seconds. Just going to send a little message out. Um, 126. There's the potential to break back above 126. If that was to happen, then that is what will be likely lead us into 127 and 128 subsequently. Until those happen, until those levels are found, there's nothing that we can do. But for the time being, like I say, there is definitely potential for that to happen. Should the dollar strengthen up, I believe that the push will be pretty quick and pretty significant. I'm just going to pop a little highlighted region through my chart just at this level, just so that I know that we could potentially pull back to it. There's that potential to pull back to, like I say, 126. And if that happens and the dollar does strengthen up, that dollar resurgence will be pretty strong. So be mindful and be cautious of that. But apart from that, like I say, we shall see what happens around 124.50 and go from there. But the pair definitely has some potential. Euro Swiss is next on my list. Some might be in it already. We've seen obviously the euro strengthen up already this morning and close these gaps. It's pretty clear what we're looking for here. We're either looking for that break back below 110 or the break above 110.50. Until either of those happens, there is nothing else to be able to look for. We either need to be able to break back below 110 and see that push all the way back down into 108, I believe, 108.80. Again, it's just a similar situation as we're seeing to that dollar CAD at the minute, where we've got this potential support region that runs all the way through. If that's taken out, then, like I say, we will see a push. If we can see that happen on Euro Swiss, chances are that Euro CAD, Euro .Oz that we'll look at in a minute, and also Swiss Yen all start to push as well. Look at that for euro dollar this morning. That break back up. Jesus. So yeah, we shall see how we fare and how this position continues. But yeah, the breaks back below 110 or the break above 1050. Get above 1050 and 1150 is definitely there, although we will have to be mindful around the whole number. And obviously the break back below 110 down to 108.80, although we will need to be mindful around 109.50. Simple, real easy trade, nothing too difficult to be looking at there. Just waiting for those potential areas to be taken out, and then obviously from there we see where we progress to. Let's do Euro Oz. Just gonna flick across and have a look again at that Swiss yen. Starting to see that fight back from the Swiss franc that we're seeing correlate with that euro position. Just gonna go back to Euro USD. Obviously that's dropped significantly. Euro Oz. Obviously we bleated on for a long time about the potential to short Euro Oz from 156. That happened, and we broke all the way back down to 145.20, which was our planned target area. So happy days. Almost the perfect situation for us. Very little drawdown and a massive risk to reward. Getting back below 154 is key now. Not really interested in taking anything until 154 goes. Although we do have 155.50 to contend with for the pair. Now, if we see a break back above 155.50, I will 100% be flipping to long positions. I will take that back to the 50 pips for 156, purely because I am fairly comfortable that if we break back above 155.50 now, we won't find any resistance at 156, and in actual fact we'll break towards 157, and therefore the pair will that will present us with quite a decent risk to reward profile. 154 though is vital to any short positions at the moment. We need to get through that. If we break the lows here at 54.40, we can definitely take an early entry if you wanted to. If your risk allows that, and you're comfortable with that style of position, the way that we're rejecting away, come back and retested that area of consolidation and pushing away now. So a break back below those lows would definitely give us an earlier entry if you're happier with the risk. 54 down into 50, 54.40 down into 54. And also obviously there's that potential for the shorts below 154. This is such a tune. Obviously below 154 back down into 152.50. So massive potential surrounding Euro Oz, both to the up and to the downside. We're just trapped in consolidation at the moment. Starting again to see this potential head and shoulders around 154 being the neckline. So again, could hold massive weight for us as we move throughout this week. Definitely one to keep an eye on. Pound Oz is another one. I'm going to look at Pound CAD in New Zealand as well. Pound Oz, Jesus, that looks lovely. Like really nice. Ooh. Pound Oz away from 79.20. 79.20 was potential long entry, and we're rejecting away from that now, which is really nice. Two seconds. From this rejection, we're now breaking back below the lows, which means that a drive back down into 178.20 makes all the sense in the world. It again, it's a position that was probably missed out on, like Euro CAD, Euro dollar. I know if this rejects from here, that's definitely a short. Look at Euro Swiss, Jesus. Ooh. So much potential this week. So many potential positions. Definitely got potential to ride pound Oz down to 78.20. That has all the potential in the world. If we break back above 79.20, then it's pretty clear to see that we are definitely going to find 180.80. See that drive all the way back up to at least 180.8, 180.20, but more than likely 180.80 or 181. If we don't see the break up, we was definitely looking just to short back below 80. Got all confused. 178.20. Was definitely looking to short below 178.20. Or 178 probably being actually the planned entry, just to get back below this little bit of noise here. So below 178 definitely gives us shorts. Those shorts are into... Gonna have to come to the 4 hours. Those shorts will break us back into 177.50, and then obviously 76.80, 177, the whole number, somewhere around there. So a lot of potential for that short. At the moment, I think getting back below the 50 level seems to be the key area. But that 4 hour looks incredible for it. The 30 minutes looks lovely for the potential short. So if you are risk happy and content with the potential risk, I know that you're going to need around about a 40 pip stop loss. So it's only really a 1-to-1, maybe a little bit over. But that short into 78 seems pretty good value at the moment. So potentials on that pair. Let's have a look. With the way that Euro dollar CAD is performing, and the way that the pound is looking this morning, might have some potential for this. We're rejecting away from 73.40, so previous support region, previous resistance. So we could be caught in a range situation back to 72. Realistically, where do we get an entry from if there is one? Not until the low 172.80 is taken out. Where does 172.80 put us here? Back in line with these previous lows. Makes a lot of sense. Anywhere back below this region, back below this little zone, would definitely give us a potential short position. And an earlier run at 170, 180, or 172, the whole number. Breaks back above 73.50. Obviously, we know where that's going to lead. That's going to put us back to around 175, 174.80, somewhere around that region. So that's obviously something that we can't ignore either. So we're around quite a important level, somewhere where we've got a lot of potential. So we should just be very, very mindful of this pair at the moment. Breaks back below 72. 72.80, which actually miraculously I already had jotted down. So yeah, happy days. Below 72.80. Pound New Zealand, breaking that consolidation, that 100% falls back to 92.50. Zero doubts. I'm just trying to have a look at what levels I have written here from quick flicks through yesterday. 93.20. Why have I here? That support region. Let's just run a level through here and see how significant that is in other places. Support Resistance gets us back below that noise. Resistance. Support region. Okay. It's definitely a reason that I've targeted that level then. And I would imagine that momentum carries on through over the next hour also. Going to be a very interesting lunchtime and New York Open. Naturally, we do what the charts tell us. Above 120.20, we just look for that retest and take the longs back up. Swiss yen, obviously rejection away from this 2020 level, and a break back below 120. Short it. Swiss yen. If you're in it from 140, just close it down. It's not worth being involved in. Get out of the position, take your profit. Longs above 1860, that's the only long that we can look for. There is 0 point getting involved in this at the moment. Give me 2 seconds. I just have to take this phone call.